Sometime in 2021, Google made an announcement that cookies are going to be history. But as it turns out, they were going to replace it with something called FLoC. And a couple of weeks ago, they have made another announcement in which FLoC has been replaced by something called topics. Do you want to know what topics are and how they are going to change your life as digital marketer? Stay tuned. Hi, it's Sunday and it's time to talk about weekly marketing updates. Last time we discussed about Android and privacy policy changes for Android 12. This session we are going to discuss about similar thing for web. In 2021 sometime, Google had announced that it's going to replace third-party cookies with FLoC, and now Google has announced a couple of weeks ago that FLoC will be replaced by something called topics. So let's go through all the details about FLoC, topics, and what's the difference. Here we go. This is a simple table explaining you difference between FLoC and topics. The first and the most important difference between FLoC and topics is that FLoC ID in the proposal for FLoC was a numerical or alphanumerical ID which would have represented a cohort of users which would have included few thousand users in each cohort which had similar interests or similar browsing history. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were same type of users or same gender users or same demographic users, but they would have had some commonality between them as users to create a cohort. This was very loose definition of a cohort, and as an advertiser I wouldn't have known what these cohorts actually mean. I would have just got an cohort ID 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't really mean a lot to me. But in topics that is changing. In topics you will actually get to see what these cohorts or these users who are in specific topic are interested in. For example, sports, traveling, music, or anything else. There are more than 300 topics that Google is starting with, and every user will be bucketed into one of these topics. So this way marketer will actually get to understand, or at least to some extent understand, the user behavior and user interests for targeting. This actually I'm sure reminds a lot of you about contextual advertising, which was quite a thing probably about 7-8 years ago. This is very similar. These 300 topics, I'll also give you a list of these 300 topics which are there at the end of video as well, and I am pasting that in the comments as well. Second major difference that is there in FLoC and topics is size. Each cohort in FLoC would have been few thousand users because it has a cohort IDs and you can create multiple or practically infinite cohort IDs. But in case of topics, you always have finite limitations in topics, and Google is starting with just 300 of them, which means that each topic will have literally millions of users. But in case of FLoC, each cohort would have had just few thousand users. The third difference is data retention. In FLoC, data retention was just 1 week. So every cohort was defined on their last week's behavior. So every week you would have potentially been in a new cohort. But in case of topics, the data retention goes to 3 weeks. So every week you will be bucketed in one topic, but your data will be retained for 3 weeks. So for every user, an advertiser can have up to 3 topics to target. So these are important and major differences between topic and FLoC. Although I'll give you a link in my description section to these topics which we are talking about. This is just a snapshot of what kind of topics you can expect, right? So this is a taxonomy defined by IAB, International Advertising Bureau, and this taxonomy basically has a hierarchy of tier 1, tier 2, etc. As you can see, tier 1 is automobile, tier 2 is automobile body parts, body styles, etc. There is a full spreadsheet available at IAB website, and I'm putting a link right in the description box. So what does it mean for you as a digital marketer? This is an important question. All this gyan and technology about cohorts and about topics and tracking, etc., really is means to an end, and that end is advertising. So here we go. What does this mean for advertising, or especially digital marketer? First, the remarketing will be considerably less efficient without third-party cookies. Whether you look at topics, FLoC, or whatever technology you're looking at, remarketing will be considerably inefficient. Second, same thing about tracking. Without cookies, tracking is going to be largely probabilistic. Deterministic tracking is going to be very, very difficult unless you are passing first-party data. And passing and maintaining first-party data is going to be of utmost importance for every digital marketer going forward. So these are the three changes that every digital marketer has to think about in coming weeks. This is not coming in near future. So you'll have plenty of time to prepare for it. So let's take a look at when it's coming. When it's coming probably sometime in late 2023. So you still have good part of more than 1.5 years. So you don't have to worry about it immediately, but be ready for it. Start reading about it and make your systems ready for it as well. Where do I get more information about this? I'll paste this link in the description box as well. This is Privacy Sandbox by Google. You can take a look at it. It has a lot more information about Privacy Sandbox, which was in the past about FLoC and now is about topics. And of course, IAB website is the third resource where you can find list of all the topics that Google will be starting with as an experiment. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do like and subscribe if you want to stay updated on digital marketing updates. If you have any questions about FLoC, about topics, or any other question about digital marketing as a whole, just post a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great week.